Today on Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 1 matchup between Louisiana and Texas. Very intriguing matchup coming up here in Week 1 between both of these teams. We got Louisiana on one side. This is a team that was just behind Coastal Carolina in the Sun Belt last season, but this definitely could be Louisiana's season to win the Sun Belt coming up here in 2021. As for Texas, this is definitely a dark horse team in the Big 12. I mean, you're hearing about Oklahoma and Iowa State almost constantly, but you're not hearing much about Texas. And this is a Longhorn team that's looking as good as they have in the past few years for sure heading into 2021. So a very interesting matchup here. And we're going to go ahead and get started with this preview and prediction, starting out with your information about this game. So obviously this game will be on Saturday, September 4th, Week 1 in Arlington, Texas. So the Longhorns do have the home field advantage in this matchup. It's going to be at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Line currently says Texas by 8. Over-under is at 58. And the ESPN FPI is going heavily on the Texas side, 87% chance of the Longhorns winning this matchup. So overall, the spread is pretty close between both of these teams at only 8 for Texas. But the ESPN FPI, that kind of surprised me when I first saw it, seeing Texas favored as highly as they are in this matchup. I mean, Louisiana, I think Texas is the most favored or the most talented team for sure in this matchup, but Louisiana is also a team that should not be slept on at all heading into 2021. I mean, Coastal Carolina, of course, won the Sun Belt last season, but Louisiana is also a team that's kind of in the background of the Sun Belt right now, being kind of overshadowed by Coastal Carolina, but I could see this Louisiana team definitely posing an impact on the college football world this upcoming season. But yeah, so serious history, Texas leads at 2-0. We've hardly seen both of these teams play each other, but the win streak is Texas 2. Last matchup was in 2005, so it's been quite a while since we've seen both of these teams play each other. Here's your stat comparison for this matchup. Louisiana last season at 34 points per game, 22 points allowed. So obviously looking at these stats, both offenses were pretty high scoring last year. I mean, Texas had 43 average points per game, which is one of the highest in the nation based off of last season. As for passing yards per game, Louisiana had 208, and then Texas had 280. So that kind of shows the impact that Sam Ehlinger had on this offense last season. Rush yards per game was higher than passing for Louisiana, as they had 213 rush yards per game. Texas had 195. So once again, both offenses were very high power last season, and defensively things were a little bit different. Texas had 233 pass yards allowed and then 142 rush yards allowed per game last year. Louisiana, on the flip side, had 204 passing, 118 rushing. So yeah, last season, of course, both offenses were great, and both offenses are returning a lot heading into next season. But for Texas here, I mean, Texas, of course, has now got Hudson Card. It looks like he's going to be the starting quarterback for this team heading into Week 1. So it's going to be very interesting to see how he does. Obviously, Sam Ehlinger has been the quarterback for a few years, so it'll be a definite adjustment there. But I do think Hudson Card brings a lot of upside to this Texas team. As for Louisiana, they return a lot of players. I mean, it's kind of crazy because when you see a group of 5 team just kind of show up out of nowhere, usually it's just one good season and then they're done for a while. But Louisiana, this team is here to stay, I think, for the next couple of seasons, especially here in 2021, as they're returning quite a bit heading into this upcoming season. Here's some key points for this matchup. Louisiana was 10-1 last season, definitely one of the surprise teams of the 2020 season. We saw this team ranked for a good chunk of it. They've got plenty of potential heading into 2021, though. I really like this Louisiana team. I do like them to potentially cause a pretty close matchup here against Texas. I mean, if Louisiana does win this game, that would be an outstanding start to the season for this Louisiana team, because, I mean, 1-0 start against Texas. I mean, that's definitely a big confidence booster heading into this matchup, but that kind of shows how crucial a matchup it is for both these teams. I mean, for Texas, if you want to be in the Big 12 championship game, I mean, you got to have a good record, and you got to beat this team here if you want to be in that top 2. So this is a crucial game for both these teams for sure as we head into 2021. But Louisiana, definitely a potential Sun Belt champion in 2021. I mean, you got Coastal Carolina. That's going to be a tough team to beat. They also got a lot returning, but I do see Louisiana definitely being in contention for that Sun Belt title. But as for Texas, I mean, it's going to be tough to get past Oklahoma and Iowa State this upcoming season. Both teams are stacked, especially Oklahoma. But I do see Texas being in the background here and potentially getting a couple of upsets this upcoming season. So do not sleep on Texas. Texas is definitely a Big 12 dark horse. They're not being talked about very much. considering they were 7-3 last season. Once again, Hudson Card is the starting quarterback as of now, so that could change. I think Casey Thompson is also in that quarterback situation, so we'll have to see what happens there. But Hudson Card looks like he's the starter for week 1. But anyway, that being said, once again, huge matchup for both these teams. Let's go ahead and get into the prediction. And for this matchup, Louisiana and Texas, I've got it 20-34. Texas gets the win at home against the Raging Cajuns. So it's going to be close. I do think in the first half we do see a pretty close matchup. I think Texas pulls away a bit in the second half here to give them a nice 2-touchdown win, which would be huge for Texas if they can win this game by a couple of touchdowns, which I do think happens. But Louisiana, once again, if you're a Texas fan, do not sleep on Louisiana here. I do think the Raging Cajuns do keep it close for a little while, and this is also not a guaranteed win if you're a Texas fan. But I do expect Texas once again to get the win, 34-20. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was even closer than this, potentially if it came down to a last-minute field goal or something. I would not be surprised. But yeah, probability Texas, I'm going to say 70%, so that may be kind of on the high side, you may say, but 70%, I am confident that Texas wins it one way or another, even if it's a close game. And then halftime score is going to be 24-10. So kind of a high-scoring first half, but I think 24-10 is going to be your halftime score there. So Texas will lead it then. But anyway, that being said, that's going to wrap it up for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Louisiana and Texas, this matchup, and I appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.